Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to finally the last episode of Voices of Food Future Season 1. This is episode 5, and I am so excited to be finally back here. And today we have a really cool topic we're going to talk about because we've been talking about how we can store our seeds. We've been talking about how we can use our land spaces more effectively, especially when you're planting. And today we want to talk about the future. So we want to see what will we be eating in 2050 and what are we doing right now that will lead us to that 2050 that you're talking about in terms of the food that we'll be using and how we'll be planting it and the systems of food and agriculture that will be surrounding it. So today in the studio, I am joined by a very qualified individual for this particular topic. And I would like to read her bio so that you guys can just get a feel of who we are about to have, and then we can start. So Dr. Eileen Chanji is an innovative and impactive-driven leader with 12 years experience advancing inclusive, climate-smart, and equitable agricultural systems across 30-plus countries in Africa. Recognized for shaping policy, designing, and managing multi-million-dollar AR4D programs, which she has informed me are agricultural for research development programs, and fostering partnership with donors, which includes UN bodies, BMGF, Global Affairs Canada, STC, and other organizations to drive sustainable rural transformation. Adept at integrating gender and social inclusion into agronomy, seed systems, climate action, and digital innovations, ensuring marginalized groups are co-creators of solutions. Now, skilled in resource mobilization, grant portfolio management, evidence-based policy design, and knowledge dissemination, a trusted advisor, mentor, and advocate who brings technical excellence and a human-centered approach to global development. She has developed metrics, frameworks, tools, and trainings just to promote sustainable food, land, and water systems. Widely published, she is also a mentor and advocate for women's leadership in climate change and entrepreneurship, and a recognized voice in global forums championing for gender-responsive policies and investments. Additionally, Dr. Eileen is a leading expert in gender and social inclusion with the Alliance of Bioversity International and CIAT. Working through the Pan-Africa Bean Research Alliance, she leads strategic gender research and integration across agri-food systems in more than 30 African countries, with a focus on seeds, water, breeding, climate action, nutrition, entrepreneurship, and digital inclusion. With a PhD in social anthropology from Gog August, I hope I've pronounced that right, University. George August, Göttingen in Germany. Dr. Nchanji brings over a decade of experience advancing equity and inclusion in the agricultural sector. She collaborates with breeders, nutritionists, market specialists, climate scientists, and policymakers at national, regional, and international level to co-design solutions that are both sustainable and socially inclusive. Her work encompasses gender-responsive climate information services, ensuring that women, vulnerable persons, and youth are not just recipients, but active co-designers and drivers. Thank you so much, Dr. Eileen, for joining us today on the studio.
Thanks very much, Caleb. I felt like that was my CV being read.
A live review of your CV.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us. And we had discussed this. We were actually talking about this before the podcast. And just before we started, I wanted to run through a bit of this in Kenya, where yesterday we had a landmark ruling by the High Court. And the High Court has ruled that smallholder farmers in Kenya can now share and store their own indigenous seeds, which has been a court battle for the last, I think, close to 1 year. And initially there was a fine of up to 1 million or 2 years in jail for storing your own indigenous seeds. In my opinion, it sounds crazy. So I think it's a good thing that the High Court has ruled that. But it's not just about the High Court ruling. I think we still have to hold the government accountable in terms of implementing this ruling. And now that you've been in this space, and we were talking briefly before we came on set, and you're telling me that the certified seeds are not that bad as we put them out to be. So in layman's terms, I want us to start from there.
Yeah. So I think when we talk about seeds, there's so many things that we have to look at.
Yeah.
So the first thing is every country has a seed law. So in most cases, there's the formal seed law.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens is when they're breeding, they're actually bringing two parents together. It's almost like reproduction.
Yeah.
Not so, but now you're looking at parents that have different traits.
Mm.
And when you're putting them together, you're looking at, do I want a variety that has, is able to resist certain pests and diseases that are coming up, especially with the climate changing.
Mm-hmm.
Do I want to have a variety, for example, where I do a process of biofortification? Biofortification means you're just looking at how to improve the iron or the zinc of the variety. It could
like
also be
fortifying
one.
The seeds.
Yeah, so literally, like fortifying the seeds. But we call it biofortification because for processing, that's when you fortify, so you're adding to it. Where biofortification is actually a natural process because you're looking at what is already existent. And I think that's what people sometimes sort of like confuse with GMOs. It's completely different, especially when it comes to seed. So a lot of certified, now when you're talking about certified seed, it just means this is seed that has been certified by a government institution saying, the seed is pure and the germination rate of the seed in most cases is 100%.
Okay.
Not so?
Yeah.
So before a seed gets to it being certified, usually you would have, when these crosses happened, you'd have what they call the foundation seed. And in most cases, when the government has the foundation seed, they either go ahead to do the certified seed, or sometimes they have seed companies that would get these foundation seeds from the government, and then they would be the ones to multiply the foundation seeds and they become certified seeds. So at different levels of the seed system, you have different people who actually would certify the seed, would validate it. So there's a whole procedure and protocol, regulations on how to get the seed to that level. Now, if you have certified seed, you're sure that it's pure and you're sure of the germination level. Now, if you have safe seeds, in most cases, there's no control. That's your seed from your house. I decide what to do with it.
Which is
information.
What now we are calling indigenous seeds.
It's what we call indigenous seeds. So usually you can get information from growing up. So I saw how my mom preserved the seeds. And that's what I'm doing. Or now I hear an extension officer saying, be more mindful, and this is what I do. But also we have other countries where in between, sort of like the certified seeds and foundation seeds, you have what they're calling quality declared seeds. So now for the quality declared seeds could actually be your safe seeds, but you have someone from the government that's working on seed regulations. And this person is now showing you, if you're an individual farmer or if you're a group of farmers, let's say farmer cooperative, and you have taken the certified seeds and you've grown it, how do you now preserve that seed to be able to use? Or if it's a farmer safe seed, how do you do that? Often, the worry about farmer safe seed is how many times you would recycle the seeds. So for common beans, you can do that after 3 seasons, and then you should have,
and then you have others.
Another seed. But sometimes what happens is in rural areas where people don't really have access to the seeds, when you have it once, you could use it for the whole lifetime. And what happens is over time, the yield of the seed reduces. Pest and disease becomes an issue because you're not having one that can actually address it. But also what we shouldn't forget is you have some of these indigenous seeds, what we call land races, that actually are very good if you look at how resistant they are to some of the climate issues that are happening. So for me, the way I look at it is it's important to have these seed systems. I don't believe in having just one. Like it should be formal system and it's certified seed, or it should be home. Farmers should have that diversity. It's like, for me, diversity is what really makes life enjoyable.
That's true.
And also, it also links with a culture, with an identity of who we really are. And if food is something that has an identity, culture, and trust in it. So if we really want people to consume what they grow, And if we want something that works within the climate, then we're supposed to really have that biodiversity.
Yeah.
So I'm happy,
That the
really,
High Court
that the
has
government has been able to overturn that.
Yeah.
Because in the groups we had with farmers, they were asking, I can't share my seed. Culturally, when you're getting married in my community,
Yeah.
seed is one of the things you give as bride price.
Oh,
So
really?
I'm sure people are thinking like, so I can give my in-law, it's a way of also showing we are actually together in this. We are together. We're part of the same family.
Yeah.
So I think that's important. So the way I look at it is the government should look at how to make sure that those who have safe seats or those who are going for like quality declared seats are able to preserve it in a way that, we're keeping that purity of the seed and also the germination. So when we grow it, we're able to get something good enough that we can eat and that we can sell.
So if I'm getting you right, there's a difference between a GMO seed and a certified seed.
So I would say you have certified seeds that are GMO. Now, if we're talking about, I know, for example, there was an article I read about GMO cassava maybe getting into Kenya.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but I know if you have like cotton in Burkina Faso, GMO. Cowpeas, I think now you have GMO in Burkina Faso.
Yeah.
But if you look at common beans, for example, in Kenya, it's not GMO. So let's go out of GMO because it's like GMO sounds very interesting. People always go there. But look at seed in this way. So you have the safe seed, which are sort of like the land races.
Yeah.
That's where we all started.
Yeah.
You have the forest, so you get seeds from the wild. And then now you're looking at how do I make that better? How do I put in different traits that people are looking for? Like beans, we love beans, but then we're like, it has gases.
Yeah.
So how do I reduce the
reduce
fluctuance
the
of beans? Beans is very good, but the cooking time, like I spend 2 hours to cook beans. How do I reduce the cooking time?
Yeah.
So the breeders would be working on that, combining the parents, looking at the traits, but also being mindful that sometimes they can't put those 6 traits that we want, Maybe it's only 3, so they need to prioritize.
Yeah.
But then now they get to these certified seeds.
Okay.
So depending on the crops, if you're talking about maize, we would not just be talking about maybe certified seeds. Maybe we're talking about hybrid seeds. So you have crops that are sort of like vegetative when you're talking of seeds and others which are not. It's like sweet potatoes, you're dealing with the vines.
Yeah.
Common beans, you have the bean seed, but we're talking about either the safe seeds, whether they're indigenous, or we're talking about certified. Literally just means the government putting a stamp because there's a process that we've gone through.
Okay.
Quality declared seed, it's more safe seed, is not certified. You've not gone to that higher level of the procedures. The procedure is restricted. They would be able to advise the farmer on what they know they can do. Licensing that they can afford, but a good quality seed, that's why it's QDS, it's good quality seed that you can use.
Okay.
While in Kenya, you don't have quality declared seeds, but what you have is the certified seeds, and then the farmer safe seeds, which I would say, interestingly, in Kenya as well, you have community seed banks.
Yeah, we do.
So in most cases, most of the seeds you have, they are indigenous seeds. Like when they have the trade, a fair trade for seeds, people bring the different varieties they have. So that also is a unit, a platform where farmers also get information on how do they maintain
So I have a question.
the quality of the seeds.
I have a question. I'm sorry, this is now my journalistic mind coming into life.
Yeah.
So the moment you buy a fortifier seed, this doesn't make it a GMO, essentially.
No, it doesn't.
You're just reducing or increasing the iron and the zinc.
Yes.
But that doesn't make it a genetically modified
make it a genetically modified seed.
Okay, that's interesting.
So for example, in Kenya, you have a bean variety that is called Nyota.
Yeah.
It has high iron and zinc. It's not a GMO seed.
It's just a better seed than the indigenous
It's just
one.
a better seed. So the whole process is the breeding. So the breeding where you're crossing.
Okay.
You're not adding new genes from somewhere. You're not fabricating something in the lab to add.
Okay.
It's literally what you have.
You're using what you have to make something better.
Yes, to make something better. So that's the process of biofortification. So you would see biofortification for beans. You're seeing that also happening in sorghum. You're seeing that also happening in millet, because there's also this idea of the stable crops, but also then you have these indigenous crops that are more resistant to the climate. So that's also something where a lot of research is coming out on, the movement back towards what we grew up eating compared to what we're starting now to eat in relation to the climate change.
So it's like how we have grafted mangoes. You just take one breed of this mango, another one, and then you make a whole other mango tree that becomes something maybe sweeter, more all season long. Doesn't have to depend on, of course, in Kenya mostly we have it in December and January. That's when you have mango season. So maybe you can find a grafted mango tree will have mangoes even in May or August. So that's essentially what
that's essentially it. Because the idea you're looking at is two things. You want to increase the yields, but also you want to meet the demand of the market. So the question is, what type of mangoes are people going in for? And now, how many people consume the mangoes? If I grow it only within the season, would it work?
Okay. Yeah.
So how do I get something that is affordable, meets the preferences of the people, and something that I can actually also be able to make money from? Because it's the market.
At the end of the day,
it's a
business. Yeah, true. So I let's now go back to the topic of today, and now I want us to just imagine and travel to 2050. What type of food do you see Africans eating? And I want to narrow down mostly on the communities and the food we've been eating for such a long time, because we have staple foods. For example, in Kenya, we have staple foods like maize and beans, make githeri. That's always going to be staple food. Ugali is something else that's going to be staple food. So with the changes that you've seen both in the food systems that we have in the continent, not just in Kenya, do you think that these staple foods will continue to be there? Because at the same time, yields are up and down because of the climate change, and that's also affecting the African continent. So let's time travel now. 2050 is just 25 years ago, away from today.
It's 25 years. And if I look at my age, I would say I should be, I think, roughly 40. And I'm asking myself, 25 years ago, what was I eating? So I think people are saying, she's lying, she doesn't look 40. Please, just let me enjoy the age.
Your age is yours.
Let me enjoy the age. So if I've added, I think I'm free to do that. So now, when I look at that, the food hasn't changed. And moving ahead, I don't see that changing. What I see is the staple foods would be there. Now, would there be sort of like a reduction in the staple foods? Maybe. Because with the climate changing, especially in Kenya, we're already seeing that, the yields are going down. For maize, they're going down for beans. But also there's this whole regenerative agriculture, agroecology, where it's actually is cost effective. But now the investment really comes more on the soils. Instead of like how to preserve the soils to be able to get something better,
to make it
I
more
shift
fertile.
a little bit more fertile from conventional agriculture. But also you realize, because for maize, for beans, these are linked to the culture of the people. So it's like you go to a Kikuyu home and there's no githeri or there's no mokimo. There's a problem. So because people already have that culture, it's like
it's ingrained in them.
It's almost like if you don't have it, then it's a problem. You don't belong to that community.
Yes, true.
I was in Nakuru and someone said, if you don't have maize on your farm, you're not a man.
That's true.
So he tells me whether the climate is permitting me to grow it or not, I
will
would
still
always
have it in my farm.
But now what people are also realizing is, because the yield is going low, if they don't find alternatives, then they're going to actually die from hunger. And the population is increasing. World population, I think we're looking at 25 million going upwards.
25 billion actually.
So now you're thinking, what other crops can I grow? So now in Kenya, you're seeing people putting millet on the farm, people putting sorghum, when before it was considered the poor man's food.
In my community, actually, sorghum and millet are mostly used to make porridge. So if you have sorghum and millet, it's mostly for porridge.
It's like it's porridge. It's not food, you know. It's like a snack.
Exactly, yeah.
But now you see people growing it because they're realizing these crops are actually very good when you're looking at the weather. So they're a lot more climate resilient.
Yeah.
Whether it's getting very hot, they can actually still be able to grow. Whether the heat is increasing, they're actually able to grow. And people also looking at alternatives. You know, it's like saying, I can use it for porridge, but I can also use it to take in my stew.
Exactly, yeah.
If you look at value add in the market, we're seeing that change. For example, one of the processors we work with, her name is Cherobet. So if you go to Carrefour, she has githeri, frozen githeri. She has frozen beans, different varieties. But then also she has a porridge. Made with, I think she puts a little bit of millet and sorghum, and then it's fermented, and it has also some beans inside. And people are actually buying that from the supermarket. So you see, it's like I don't have to go to the village to eat that, you know, fermented millet porridge I used to have. I can now get it. But the way it's done, it has a lot more nutrition where I don't have to take it only as a snack.
I
can actually take it in between my meals and say, you know, I'm taking breakfast and then I'm having this I'm having something else for lunch, and for dinner, I'm actually going to have that porridge, and that is it. So I see there's definitely going to be change in the diet as you're going to have new crops people are starting to consume. If we look at vegetables, for example, we had an activity in Makueni, in Nakuru and in Embu. And one of the things the farmers were telling us, especially the women, was we want to have certain varieties to grow around our farms. Because now, you know, you're eating ugali, you're eating the beans, but then you need the vegetables. So we're looking sort of like at the balanced diet.
Yes.
So instead of buying that all the time, can you actually grow it, you know, around where you are? So we're seeing an increase in people going for manago, which is the huckleberry leafy vegetable. It's very green. That's actually what, when you go to the hospital, they're telling you, like, go for very green vegetables.
Very green vegetables.
So you're having women, especially, who are the ones who, I won't say deciding on what to cook, but, you know, are thinking more about the nutrition of the family, saying we need to have a lot more of these vegetables around us. How do we grow them? Where do we get the seeds from? So that the family can also consume it. So definitely we would see change as in staple crops, maybe a reduction in consumption, but not completely going away. And we're going to see all the vegetables and other cereals, I would say, and other grains that we never used to consume it so much, coming back into the picture, becoming more frequent, but, you know, done in a way that people in the next century, you know, now we're talking about the Gen Zs will be looking like us during that time, that they can consume and be happy with, you know, where it fits still within what locally they're used to eating, but also sort of like a modernized version, because as we move, definitely the culinary is going to also change to make it look better, to make it taste better.
Personally, from your perspective, what food did you used to eat as a child that you don't want to see go away?
So I'm going to be partial. Because from Cameroon, we have a lot of diversity when it comes to food. So depending on the region where you're coming from, there's something to eat. So I grew up not eating certain foods, not because there's something wrong with it, but just because I have a lot of options. So it's like when I came to Kenya, I almost started crying and saying, am I in Africa? Where's the food? But for us, my traditional dish is ugali and managu.
Really?
Yes. And for us,
is it done the same way we do it in Kenya?
Prepared differently, slightly differently. So our ugali is a little bit softer, similar to what you have in Zambia and in Zimbabwe. And then the ugali, we have a different way of preparing the ugali. So I can attest and say every Kenyan that has come to my house and eaten ugali, managu, is asking how do I prepare it? Because we have like 3 different ways we prepare it. But getting back to that's something I don't want it to go away. Because for me, I say if you have ugali and you have managu, you're going to heaven. So in 50 years...
You have a straight ticket to heaven.
You have a straight ticket to heaven. So in 50 years, in 75 years, in 100 years, it should still be there. Because when you look at that combination, or you actually, there's quite a lot there. You have all your vitamins and everything and the minerals coming from
that's
Manago.
true. Yeah.
Definitely, we know what we get from calves. So the only thing you need is a protein, which now
That's all.
varies. I mean, of course, I'm a meat eater.
So you want your meat.
I'm a meat eater. So I want to have my meat. But now, if you have someone who's a vegetarian, they might prefer to have beans instead of meat.
Yeah.
So whether you're going for protein base or you're going for meat base, I'm a meat. There's no
For you want to.
just make sure that
There's
you
no
have
compromise
something
on that.
balanced. No, there's no compromise. Something balanced sitting on your plate. Yeah.
So it's actually, I'm looking at the next couple of things we should talk about, and I'm realizing we've actually touched on them, because the next thing is how indigenous crops are being reimagined, and we've spoken about how sorghum and millet will play a very huge role moving forward in terms of how people will be consuming food. But now, and also the role of forgotten foods like sorghum and millet again.
Yeah.
Do you think Africa will fully embrace these foods that are, I don't want to call them GMO because GMO is like the buzzwords we're talking about.
And it could be so many things.
It could mean so many things, exactly. It's a trigger point for some people in Kenya, actually. But do you think we will come to embrace completely? And I love the explanation you've given about the certified seed and the quality assured seed and the GMO.
Yeah.
But in terms of going to the farmer and explaining to them that this is just a better seed, do you think Africans will really embrace it and be like, this is something better? It doesn't mean that I can't use my indigenous seed, but it means that I can plant this for maybe even more than 3 seasons, and it can still give me the same yield. It can withstand the climate conditions. Given the tours you've done around the country and around the continent, what is the receptiveness in terms of Africans accepting this new way of making seeds which are better for African? Also, if they are considering for the African soil, because the African soil is also very separate.
So farmers have, because so before a seed is released in a country, there's demonstrations that have to be done in all the agroecological zones. So literally you have to collect data to show the productivity of the seed, how it's resistant to pests and diseases, climate. There's a whole protocol on everything that you have to do.
Just like test driving the
Just
seed.
like test driving it. And I think in Kenya, when you have all that information, it goes to CAFE. So they look at it. So they're checking, is this replacing a variety that, was good, but this is now better than what we have?
Yeah.
And they're also looking, of course, at how that's contributing to food security, nutrition. So these also, I think what is important is anchors within existing laws in the country.
Yeah.
That's why it's good that we have this seed law overturned. Because if it's non-existent, and then it's difficult to even promote anything else, because you need to anchor it to a law
that's all there
for
is.
that to happen. And we know in the country, when it comes to agriculture, as much as we have international organizations, private sector partners, and NGOs, but this is actually spearheaded in most cases by the government. You need the buy-in.
Yeah.
So that really needs to exist there. Now, I would say if it comes to adoption of seed, if we're being very honest, 80 to 90% of farmers still use informal seed systems. So what does that mean? So that means I buy it from the market. I get the seed from my neighbor.
Yeah.
This is seed I grew, I don't know, maybe last season, 2 seasons ago, 4 seasons ago, 5 seasons ago. It all depends. So there's a lot still from the informal sector. And that's why you see in research, we're saying, don't only look at the formal sector. Because if you're focusing on the formal sector, we don't even have half of our farmers growing certified seeds. Now, a lot of those who are involved in agriculture are women.
Yeah.
More than 70 to 80% of women are actually in agriculture.
Yeah.
And certified seed is good. But also then the issue is the affordability, the access, the availability of the seed. So if I move from a socioeconomic stance of view where I'm a farmer, I'm poor, so that means I don't have a lot, but I have children that are going to school. And then, of course, we know health issues are not things you plan for, but then they pop up once in a while.
Yeah.
So I might not be able to get certified seed on time because the money I had, I took my daughter, I took my son to the hospital. I was supposed to get something for the house. And then when I have that money and the season is, just like the next week or 2 weeks, then I can't access the certified seed. Because also even the production of that sometimes is an issue. It's not enough to get to the last mile farmers, not in high volumes. And also depending on the type of seed, there are certain seeds where seed companies produce a lot more because they're sure of the market. And then there are those where they don't produce a lot more because the assumption is a lot of people are going to get this seed from other sources.
Yeah.
So now you find a situation where at the end of the day, you would buy a seed depending on varied reasons.
Because it depends on also what you
It depends on really the socioeconomic positioning
yeah.
of the farmer. So intersectionality comes also into play. And it also even depends on education. So if I don't understand the seed they're giving me, like you're saying, if I don't know if it's, okay, what's certified?
Yeah.
How is that different from my safe seed?
Yeah.
You know, then I might decide not to get it. And now with the buzzword of GMO, I just hear GMO and I'm told GMO is bad.
Yeah,
so I don't know. This GMO thing, is it this new seed they're giving us, or is it what I know my mom used to give us? So I'll run from anything which is what I'm not familiar with. So I think the continuous, which is what we also do, continuous awareness creation on the different type of seed qualities and what are their advantages, I think is important for farmers to know. And this way, farmers would not go looking at why am I getting the seed? But they're looking at the value of the seed. What would it give me at the end of the day?
Exactly.
If I invest $1 extra, or if I invest $2 extra to be able to get this seed, am I going to get $5 more? Am I going to get $6 more?
Is it going
and
to
what are the
bring a return?
nutritional benefits? Because like now I think there's a people becoming more conscious about their health.
Yeah.
You know, what should I eat? What shouldn't I eat? What quantity should I eat? What quantity shouldn't I eat? And now looking at these varieties. So, for example, like I was talking about the Nyota beans. Beyond the Nyota beans, we have 2 other bean varieties as well. The Angaza beans that are all high iron beans. If I don't have any information that these beans is high in iron, then there's a possibility I'm not going to consume the beans.
Yeah.
I'd keep eating another type of beans that, of course, maybe has iron, but is not high in iron. So the bioavailability of iron is not as high as the other one.
So this is not only just a matter of, it's not just a matter of even the production as well, even the access to these seeds.
Yes.
So you may find that mostly it's large-scale farmers or large-scale farms that get the chance to maybe buy the seeds because they have the capacity to do that.
Yeah.
But unfortunately for small-scale farmers, which is why I think there was such friction when they were being told you have to get this type of seed, because at the same time it's expensive to get it, and by the time I'm getting it, I don't have the flexibility I do of the indigenous seed where I can just share it with my neighbor and do this and that and that. So that's where maybe the problem comes in. But I'm happy that we are really understanding this, because now this means it's really a matter of information that hasn't really gotten out there. It's not that something is bad or good. There's so much more than what we see at face value.
Yes.
And I want to talk about, you said something in brief when you're talking about the systems that we'll be using in 2015, because that's the theme for today. And I saw something interesting about vertical agriculture that is going to be introduced. And I see it sometimes in Europe, where you don't have to have a large space of land to cultivate your crops. You can just use a small space of land and then you can plant crops going upwards. I don't know if you can give us more information about that.
Yeah.
And whether it is viable for Africa or it's a European type of thing.
I think now it sounds more like a European type of thing than it is. You would find the people who have sort of like backyard gardens. So you know the ones where you have in your balconies.
Yeah.
You would find a lot of that in urban areas. I would say like in Nairobi.
Yeah.
So you need to have a balcony to even have that. So if you don't have a balcony, putting that becomes a problem.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you need to have a system where you're able to water it.
Okay.
So a lot of what you find is actually the ones where in farmer fields, when we work with farmers, they do it more like tires, and you'd find those in schools, especially where they have like the school feeding program.
Yeah.
So you have like different sizes. So it starts from like very big to small going up.
Yeah.
But now you have like the soil, the good soil, and then you're planting on it. So I think the issue there always is what quantity can you get from that? So often you would have like 3 or 4. It's easy to do that in a school because you don't need a huge space to be able to
use
do
it,
that.
yeah.
But also, if you go to a village, what we are used to is you're planting on the soil,
On the ground itself.
on the ground itself,
Yeah.
you know. So if I go give my mother or my grandmother in the village that type of technology, the question is, would they actually adopt it? Would they look at it as this is more labor intensive compared to I have my, you know, my hole, or I have my
My
in
pump,
Kenya,
maybe.
they call it the what you use in tilling the soil.
Or the djembe.
The djembe.
Yeah.
So I have my djembe, you know, I just would dig the soil and I put the seeds. Why do I have to use
come
these
up with all
mechanisms?
these
So I feel
systems.
like the whole hydroponics and all of these are really what you look at when you're focusing on urban agriculture. Because these are things that people think more of doing in the city because, one, we have the investments to be able to do that. Yeah, we're a lot more constrained with land.
Because you don't have a lot of space
We
to
don't have a
use
lot of space.
agriculture.
And then 3, you know, we have these options where in almost every house in Nairobi, you have like where you're drying your clothes. So actually, you could even have like bags where you're growing your different vegetables.
Yeah.
And no one would have an issue with that
Yeah.
because they look at it like, oh, you know, Caleb has that nice plant growing there. So
You know,
I
it looks
can
like a
always
cool
just
thing.
stop by
Yeah.
and say, you know, please can I have some managu?
Yeah.
And also then in the urban area, because a lot is sort of like concrete.
Yes.
So we want something green. So whether we're going for plants or we're going
We're
for,
going
you
for
know,
even the
vegetables,
vegetables.
your neighbors and everyone around is always a lot more accommodative to that.
Yeah.
I feel like people are doing it. So the people that are really starting to do that, but we've not got into that large scale.
Okay.
So the potentials, but I feel like that potential has to be harnessed better. And if it's something that we really want to do large scale, then we need to also think about how are we integrating this in the urban planning
Because that
type of
also has to be
arrangements.
included. 'Cause
Yes.
in Kenya, high-rises apartments are coming up
Yes,
everywhere. So
because
you
like
don't
now they're
just-
everywhere. So it's like when you do this,
Yeah.
you get into the neighbor's apartment, you get into the other
Yeah.
neighbor's apartment. With
You
your
go to your
hands.
balcony and you can literally see the window of the next apartment's neighbor.
Yeah. So now if we want to do hydroponics in that type of setting, how
Yeah.
does it work? In a way that, you know, it doesn't have like negative environmental footprints.
Yeah.
So that also has to be something that has to really be thought of then at that higher level. So when it's cascaded down and people start doing it, we're already able to, you know, sort of like eliminate any negative effects that we would have. Instead of having people do it, then there are issues, then we start finding ways around that.
Around that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about climate change and African agricultural systems.
Yeah.
Mostly as Africans, when we listen to the news or we watch, we're usually like, maybe 1 acre iceberg or a whole block of ice has melted. And they're like, it doesn't really affect us that much because we're told maybe the sun has moved just slightly. I watched a short video the other day that said Africa is one of the best continents to live in because we're positioned geographically where the sun doesn't really move as much. So we have the sun all year round. That's why we don't have winter and we don't have summer in most African countries. But let's talk about now climate change because it has an impact and it has already started impacting our agricultural food systems. Sometimes the rains come sooner, sometimes they come later. How is this going to be, how has it impacted the agricultural systems that are put in place by African farmers in the continent?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody now knows the climate is changing, so we're not more in discussion
That's
of
not
is it changing or
is
not.
it changing or not? Yeah, exactly.
And
Well,
you've rightly
except
said those.
certain
It's
presidents,
either
but-
very high rains, you know, high temperatures, and then sometimes erratic. So when you expect the rains are not falling. When you don't expect the rains fall. Then also even a methodological centers and information, they're improving. But I think not still perfect. So it's like you can get information at the county level, at the ward level, but then at the village level, you're expecting the rains to fall and it's not falling.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think at that level...
Ironically, rainmakers used to know. But anyway, that's a whole
Yeah, I
other-
think now that's why you have a lot of discussions on how to combine scientific and indigenous knowledge.
ways of, yeah.
So when you have those two together, you can predict better. You know, it's like one is not better than the other. And I think the Kenya Meteorological Stations or the whole departments are starting to do that. So we've had multiple projects with them where they're actually combining that. And we're seeing farmers becoming more trusting of the information. But
Because-
before, farmers were not, even me, I wasn't. Like if you say it's going to rain, I don't take the umbrella. If you say it's not going to rain, I'm like, nah, I'm taking the umbrella.
I don't trust you that much.
But now I think I'm more also, trusting the information that's coming, because most of the time now you actually get the right information. And there's been these multi-sectoral discussions.
Yeah.
So people that are dealing with droughts, people that are dealing with, sort of like livestock, agriculture. And when you're pulling all of those sectors, then you get a more holistic and systematic picture compared to, before, when it was a little bit disaggregated. But now, getting to the question you asked, definitely it's changing. And one thing which is being pushed is early warning signals. A lot of the time we wait. Heavy rains. Now I've lost all my crops. And I start thinking, I don't have seeds for maize anymore.
Yeah.
So can I find some millet, sorghum? Can I find something else to put on the farm? Or, you just don't have any seeds, and then you've lost everything for the harvest. And so the whole family doesn't have anything. People need to start looking for
Now you feel like you've wasted
farm
your land
activities.
for that whole season.
Something else to be able to feed your family. And usually that's a very difficult period where people find ways of coping.
Yeah.
Your children are always in your neighbor's house. He's complaining, but it's an African tradition. He has to make sure they get something from his pot as well.
Yeah.
So the early warning is that you have an idea of what the weather patterns is going to be like, and then you prepare better. So we're going to have a drought. It's going to, we're going to have heavy rains. So how do you prepare for that? Anticipating the shocks that are already going to happen than just adapting to it.
Yeah.
So that's why now they're talking a lot more of adaptation should not be on one side and mitigation on the other side, but sort of like it should be looked upon as a whole.
Yeah.
What are the adaptative and mitigation issues that are combined in the national adaptation policies or the NDCs and everything? So there's that discussion on that. Farmers, I think, are becoming more responsive because, like what you're saying, farmers are not just, in most cases, we used to look at them as beneficiaries. So it's like climate comes, then they can't cope, and we're looking for solutions to give them. But the way I look at it is farmers are actually drivers of this change, like you're saying. They know, for example, if I slaughter a goat or something, I can be able to tell is it going to rain or not. If I see butterflies, so they already
or
have
birds in
that.
the sky or trees.
That information. I think the issue that happened was sometimes we don't do participatory work where we go co-design, co-develop, The assumption is we have the solutions, we have the innovations, we have the technology. So we go down and tell them, the things you used to do your grandfathers is not working. Get this information. And then now farmers invest and lose everything. And now when you come with the scientific knowledge, they're like, the people from Nairobi have come again.
People from Nairobi.
So
it's like forcefully feeding them something that they haven't.
Yes. So I
really
feel
been.
like we need to combine this knowledge, the knowledge system, the indigenous, the scientific, but also the people that have to pass this information have to be people in the communities. Because they understand the indigenous side, but also they understand how to get that information to the farmers in a language,
That
in a
they
way that they
understand.
understand. They're able to reach them more than we can, And so that way farmers would anticipate what's happening, and then climate issues are not going away, but we would have a better way of not just responding to it, but anticipating it and knowing what to do than waiting for it to happen,
More of prevention other than now cure.
Then cure. And then also even financing. So it's really important, the impact-based financing. How does the government also come in? Because if I know that all my cattle are going to die in the next 1 month.
What is the government going to do?
So where am I standing when it comes to my livelihood? So how can the government also support those type of activities, similar to when we had COVID? And I think elderly people got like a package.
Sustenance package.
Reflecting on those type of policies that we have, how can we be able to support when we already have an idea that these crises are coming in? Yeah, I think it's key.
Still on climate change, and but I shift a bit to food innovations. We're gonna come back to climate change, and we're gonna merge these two questions together. what is the most interesting food innovation you've seen when it comes to in the African continent or even in Kenya, related to food systems? What's the most interesting innovations you've seen by Africans for Africans?
So I would say a couple of them. I would start from the science part, the biofortification.
Okay.
So in Cameroon, for example, I have beans, but I love the beans by color. It's either the black beans or, the white beans or the small reds.
Yeah.
No, so we don't actually have a yellow beans. We have some beans that look brown.
Okay.
Then I come to Kenya and then there's a lot more diversity in beans. Now I'm seeing beans that are yellow.
Yeah.
I'm seeing beans that are sort of like, they're looking cream white and then they have like red stripes on them. A lot more diversity than what we have. But now I'm joining the Alliance of Biodiversity International in SIAT, and in the Pan-African Bean Research Alliance that I'm part of, we work only on common beans. And then I'm realizing, there's some beans that has high iron. There's one that the zinc is high. And there's one that the zinc is not very high. So now I'm prioritizing which beans I'm eating.
Depending on what you want for your body.
Depending on what I want. So of course, like I said, looking at my age, I'm looking at Nyota. I need more iron. Looking at my age, I'm going to Nyota because he has what? Low fluctuance.
Yeah.
So I want to eat the beans and enjoy it. But I don't want to have to be cautious of where I'm sitting, where I need to rush to a washroom.
Because of the amount of gas in the beans.
Or where my kids are going to be like, no, we don't want to eat that beans because, so there's that. That's the biofortification. And I mean, we talk about iron a lot because it has to touch, women. But also then you have zinc, which has to do more with men reproduction. So there are also men who are like, this is what we're interested in because, when it comes to reproduction in African setting for men, it's like a taboo to talk about it. So no one goes to the hospital because then the whole area knows what's happening to you. So you just
become the problem.
You become the problem. And then it's like you're no longer a man. So I think that innovation is really something good and that they're doing it across multiple crops. So, you have beans, but you also have rice, you also have sorghum, you also have millet. So I think having that across multiple crops is great. The second thing is processing. So the good thing is when you're processing, you can also fortify the flours. So if you go to the market now, you're going to find you don't just have ugali, you have like flour for millet, you have flour for sorghum, you have flour for different crops that you can actually prepare. There's the nutritious side to it. You have ones that, if you want the over-processed, but at least it's over-processed. You have the ones that are not overly processed.
You know what you're buying.
That's nutritious, you know what you're buying, and all the nutritional information is actually there.
Okay.
And you have the ones that I just want to thicken my stew with it.
Yeah.
So I think those innovations on value add is important because what it also does is most of the crops that we would lose as a result of post-harvest waste, we're able to turn them into products that with the new packaging, you'd actually have people going for it. I take like managu, amaranth. Now you go to the market, you can actually have versions of it that are already dried.
Yeah.
That you can actually still use in your food. But after the season, you're not able to have those vegetables anymore.
Yeah.
So I think that processing is good. The only question is, how is the processing done? Is it in a way that the products are still going to be nutritional? Because that's what we're looking at. We don't want processing where it's overly processed and then it becomes an issue.
It becomes an issue as well.
Yeah. Then I would say the last innovation we're looking at is how to get varieties that meet with the changes in the climate.
You actually just went into my next question, but thank you.
So
I read my mind.
Yeah, so that I think also is really important. If I look like in Kenya, so before coming here, my country, we have mountains, we have seas. And so thinking of semi-arid was not something that really factored in my mind. So I remember when I came first
Cameroon
and they said, so
cool and wet,
we
the
call
whole
it
country.
Africa in miniature because it's like it has all the agroecological zones.
Okay.
So when they talked about semi-arid, I felt like, nah, what is semi-arid? How can they say this? There's no way there's famine in Kenya.
Yeah.
And for me to understand that, I had to go to Turkana.
And see it for yourself.
And see for myself and be like, okay,
so
now I get. Because I was like, no. There's no way in Africa you would not have soils that you cannot grow food.
Yeah.
But now I get there and I understand, oh, semi-arid means I'm here, it's hot.
Very.
I'm here, I'm not seeing water. I'm here, I'm seeing signs to show that when there's a flood, so when water comes, it takes everything away.
Yeah.
Like you can see it from the landscape. Oh, wow. So the question, if someone is staying in Turkana, what can the person grow?
Precisely.
So if I need to take beans up there, would it work? Would green gram be better? But in green gram, what type of green gram do we have?
Because you can't just plant any type of green ground.
Is it something that can work for 35 degrees? Okay, but now climate is, it's changing, it's going to
Yeah.
40, 45. How do we get one that can cope with that heat tolerant? And I think those innovations is really what is important. Of course, also what we have to be mindful, which I'm learning from our breeders, is you cannot put everything in one variety
You have to sacrifice something to get the other.
to get another.
Okay.
And sometimes it's not that straightforward. So I think a lot of more collaborations, co-developing things, learning from each other would actually take us to the next level. But for me, what is key is that there are solutions. And now what we need to do is implement those.
So the solutions are there.
They're there.
The people to implement
The
are
people
there.
to be there. So we need more financing into those priority areas. We need the capacity of the people doing that belt. If I talk a lot about beans because I'm from the bean sector. So we have a group of, I would say breeders, for example, that are coming to retirement age they're living across multiple countries where I work. And the question next is, who is taking over? So you have certain countries where, it's very clear. Like in Kenya, I love to give the example here because I have like 3-4 women that are being brought in to support the system. But I have other countries where there's no one.
Yeah. So
Actually,
the knowledge goes
the
with
older
them.
person has left, and then this younger person is now they're trying to train the person.
Find their feet.
They're trying to find their feet. So you have a gap where nothing is happening. So how can the government put in place a system where there's that exchange in information and building of younger capacities? So there's no gap. Where there's a point where there's nothing in the country and we need to import. And I ask, from where? From Russia. Sorry to say this. From Ukraine. And I'm looking at the surface area of what we have. And I'm looking at, the intellect that we have. And I'm looking at the resources that we have. And I'm wondering.
Why do we need to do this?
Thank you.
I've asked you a question for you. It's interesting because we talked about it in another episode here, and we were asking ourselves, and why really is there's a certain apathy to farming or agriculture, especially by the younger generation. But I realize actually most of it is because some of us have been brought up completely in the urban sector. So food for you is a necessity when you need to eat it. So you don't understand the whole importance of knowing the planting process. You don't understand the whole importance of understanding this seed is good for this time. Like the whole farming, as important as it is, because growing up we are taught in Kenya that agriculture is the backbone of the economy of the country. But we just learn that in passing. It's those things when you learn and you're like, it comes in an exam, write it, that's all. But understanding it is something totally different. It's a good thing that you've said we have the capacity, we have the knowledge, we have the people. It's just a matter of setting up systems in place that will support this. And that is a government's job entirely, which sometimes they fall short of doing it. But let's not go into that for today. When it comes to artificial intelligence and how it's been used in farming, early in the episode you mentioned something about Calro, and I was watching another episode where they said Calro has this AI chatbot that they've developed. They tell you where is it Calro or Kiri, the Agricultural Institute in Kenya. So it's an app and you feed it geographical information. And when you do, it tells you the soil that is in your place. It tells you the plant that is best to be planted. It tells you the season to plant it. And it tells you the it also, I think, estimates the yield that you'll have. So this is one of the innovations that we've had in artificial intelligence when it comes to agricultural systems. What are some of the others that you think have been made, and how can we merge AI? Because I think we can already agree farming is one of the things that AI will probably never replace because it's a human thing. But what are some of these innovations related to artificial intelligence that have been brought in?
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of work now happening on genomic selection. How do you get the best varieties and traits that fit on farmers' field?
Okay.
Because a lot of breeding work was done in the lab.
Yeah.
And then you have like a high yield. And then when you take it to the farmer's field, the conditions are different.
So it becomes
and then you're
whole
getting
other
something
different
else.
thing.
So we're always looking at it's higher in the lab, it's lower in the field. Why is that? So now what they're actually doing is you have a lot of AI technologies that are out there. You've mentioned this one that Carol has, and you have additional ones that looks at pest and disease. So you can actually be able to immediately identify the pest and disease. It can be able to tell you what the preferences are for men and women. I think what really becomes important in these things is the information that fit in it. Because for AI, I think we have multiple countries that have sort of like, they are either debating on the law they're going to put for AI, or some already have draft laws that are working, and then but a lot of the time the ethical part of it is what people question.
Yes.
And then also a lot of the AI technologies you have are sort of like spearheaded by big companies from the north. Then really the south.
Feels like you're picking your words very carefully.
The context sometimes do not really match, because they have their agenda that sometimes doesn't fit within our agenda. And AI is a tool that you feed with information for it to actually give you what is perfect. So I know what the CG system is doing with a lot of national agricultural systems is all the information they've been collecting. They're seeing how to feed this into these agricultural AI technologies they're developing, so that the information they're getting is accurate. So if I get information, let's say from the first season, second season, let's say 2025, 2026, can I be able to present what the season would look like for 2027?
To predict beforehand.
Yeah. Then also you have the AI technologies where it's just helping more in making the system, the agricultural system effective. So like the drones that you have now, multiple countries actually picking that up, where there has to be like discussions on that, on what you can import and export. Like I know in my country, for example, we met someone who was doing it, but the issue he had was importing it. And also the country having some regulations on what can come in and cannot come in, and what type of information do you feed in that AI drone, where if a farmer has like 10 or 20 acres, you can be able to spray, and then he's sure that he's not losing everything at the end of the day. Because as much as we talk about the government, you also have the private sector that's investing a lot in it, and are also looking at, they want to invest, but also at the end of the day, they want to have the money, profit from it. While the government in most cases is looking at a public good. They want to invest, but then everyone has to benefit from that.
Mutually beneficial.
Mutually benefit from that. So I think for Africa, it's a lot more on looking at the ethics, AI. As a gender expert, I would say feeding information that's gender disaggregated, because farmers are not a homogeneous group. You have men farmers, women farmers, youth farmers, but also within them,
set of different challenges.
You have ones that are elderly, ones that are not, ones that are educated, not educated, ones that are sort of like don't have a lot, ones that are sort of like average, ones that have quite a lot, have information, don't have. So I think all these elements are really supposed to be included in that. So the way I look at it is the development of the AI laws should actually be very much a co-design process, human-centered, but making sure that these elements are included, and that is really something that is for the country. So AI for Kenya, AI for Cameroon, AI for for the Gambia, AI for Burundi, and something that can actually
make it
work
relative to the people
continent.
in that
You know, it has to be relevant here, while then we want to make it international. But if we bring something that fits in a square hole and we're coming to put it here in a round hole, it would really not work. So I feel like it has a lot of potentials, can do quite a lot in agriculture. I mean, we're using it already as drones, we're using it for what you mentioned, irrigation
too.
So how do we just harness that in a way that, let's be honest, where we are the ones producing food for the world, and not the way it is now, where the highest hungry people, food insecure people are actually us.
Which is unfortunate, considering we are the only continent which has a rising population, and we are the only continent that is very suitable to plant a very vast...
Having more young people who eat more.
Exactly. Well, you can also say that. It's interesting how we've mentioned about data and AI, because I remember a short story that there was a time when AI was having a very difficult time to make images of Africans. And they had to come and train it in, I think it was in Kenya actually. I'm not going to mention the AI model, but they came to train it in Kenya so that it could know African faces, like let it interact with African faces and know how African faces look like. Because it's a European thing. So it's been made in Europe. And then unfortunately you find for the AIs that we have in Kenya, they don't really have that. There's not that established system or ecosystem where you can get enough funding to push it further, give it all the details it needs. Because in my opinion, I feel like if we had, like you're saying, AI for Kenya, AI for Burundi, AI for Cameroon, AI for South Africa, it's AI that is tailored for Kenya. So it understands Kenya because it's made in Kenya. But since we are coming to the conclusion of the podcast, thank you so much, Dr. Eileen, for joining us. I have one final question. What do you want to be eating in 2050? We already said you're 40. So we can add a couple of years of on the 40. So what do you want to be eating in 2050?
I think I just want a balanced diet. So really, I would love to have my greens on the table. I want to have my proteins, and I want to have my carbs.
Specifically your meat.
So my meat has to be there. That's the protein. That's my best protein in this world. And the greens. I mean, of course, the greens can alternate. The best I love manago. But of course, I can eat cabbage, or I can eat, sort of like the amaranth. I can have another vegetable. But if it's a dark green vegetable, it's better.
Okay.
And definitely you have the carbs. So I love ugali, but doesn't mean I won't eat rice, or, I'm not going to eat maybe cassava or sweet potato. But I think... 2050, I want to see more nutritional diets, but nutritional diets that are appealing.
Okay.
That are appealing. Appealing in the way they look, are tasty. I don't know whether it's just where I'm from, and I will not say the country, but I grew up where the way food is prepared with love and attention. So the way the food looks in front of you determines whether you're going to eat it or not. And I give an example, and I don't want to tag countries, but the countries in Eastern and Southern Africa that eat ugali, beans, with vegetables. And now I'm going to the school feeding, because that's where it all begins. Huh?
Yeah.
When you're a child. And then now when you get to an adult, most of the decisions you make
are based on what you saw.
Based on how you grow up, what you saw and everything. So I go to a school, and they're giving food, and they're putting ugali, and they're putting beans, and they're putting vegetable. Now first I look at the way they've prepared the ugali. They've just prepared it, and then they take and put on the plate.
Yeah.
You're not seeing any structure to the ugali. And the beans is there, you're just seeing is watery, and then you're seeing beans, and you're seeing vegetable. And I'm wondering,
and if you're talking about a Kenyan school, you probably find it has labels.
If I eat that, and then I get to a point where I get a job, am I ever going to eat beans and ugali and vegetable? Probably never. I feel like I was punished my whole life.
Place.
Yes, it's almost like I was being punished because I didn't have an option. So now I have an option. What do I want to eat?
Yeah.
Which can push you even more towards the processed foods.
True.
Because you feel like I want to eat anything
and
that
has
appealing. Nothing with what I had before, because that was not appealing. I felt like I was being forced.
Yeah.
But now imagine if you have an ugali where they've prepared it, and then, like we say in Central Africa and West Africa, you take your hand, put in water, you adjust it very well, it's looking nice. And then you have like beans, but it has a thicker sauce.
Yeah.
And there's a nice taste to it. And then in the greens, you have a little bit of tomatoes, something that gives it color.
Yeah.
So the first thing that attracts you as a child is not that it has carbs. It's not that it has protein. It's not that the vegetable has minerals. How does it look? That's why Americans can give us all the processed foods and we're going for it.
And
This
we'll
one
take
has
them.
onion taste, has honey taste, has gum taste, and
Yeah.
whatever. So how it looks. And the next is taking time to prepare the food with love, where by the time you're eating the ugali, you're remembering that,
Even feel
I'm proud to
good
be a
eating the
Kenyan.
food. Yeah.
So the taste of the food also, I think, matters. And usually, even when you're moving towards nutritious foods and you want to change people's mind about food, I think what is really important that sometimes we don't think about is reflecting on the people's culture.
Yeah.
So if I want to give you chapati, but I want to put beans inside, how do I do it in a way that somebody that's used to eating chapati would even decide and say, let me try that. So I think also revolving around that and education, not awareness creation that happens once in a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
People really
Sensitization
need to
is
understand,
very important.
yes, over time,
Yeah.
why it should change. And how should it, if the change is happening, then you listen to people. How do they want to see it? How do they want to taste it?
Yeah.
And I think then we're moving towards a better nutritious meal in 2050. If not, so
Yeah.
what I fear is I go to the supermarket, the Indomie section seems to be the biggest when it comes to food.
Oh my God. Yeah.
The biscuit sessions
Biggest processed drinks.
everywhere.
Yeah.
So if we don't really educate people, and we're talking a lot more about what we do, the gender responsive nutrition education, where you're bringing not only women, because women are cooking, yes, but men decide. The woman cooks what the man wants to eat because I want to keep him at home. Where the young people are understanding because they're going to be what? The leaders of tomorrow.
Yeah. It is us going to be in those homes in 2050.
In those homes, they'd be the
Yeah.
ones now deciding.
Yeah.
They need to understand already those things before they get to that age, before they get to that time. If we don't do that, then what would happen is, this is what I say, that Africans sometimes we just like to talk and not do anything. It'd be us repeating it to ourselves, but not educating others that are coming after us.
are coming
And then
after
the
us, yeah.
situation stays the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Eileen. I have one final thing. This was not even on the question.
I was like, one more? Really?
This is not even on the list of questions. So this is the chance where your camera is this one.
Okay.
So you look at the camera and based on the conversation we've had, and we're talking about the future,
Yeah.
what do you have for young people, the Gen Zs, the Gen Alphas, when it comes to mindfulness in their food systems, in their agricultural systems, and what is around them, especially when it comes to that?
Women and youths are the drivers of change. And when we talk about youth, I'm looking at it more from an intergenerational perspective. So while we have children in kindergarten, primary school, going to secondary school before they get to the university, they need to understand the value of the agri-food system to our economies, but also the part that they can play. So I think we should stop dropping the words of beneficiaries. These people are benefiting, but we should look at them more as change agents. What can they do? And what should they be doing collectively, individually, to make sure that, the food system in the coming years is one that can actually feed the continent and be able to feed other continents? Because as we said, the population is increasing, 25 billion worldwide, but in Africa, we have more young people coming up. How do we make sure, or how do they make sure, because now I'm 40, so this is not really about me anymore. I feel like I'm old. How do they make sure that they're able to be food secured? Because now we're giving the baton. Huh? I'm not the Gen Z, so now it's empowering the Gen Z to be able to make sure that those after the Gen Z are there, the Alpha.
Gen Alpha, yeah.
So that the Gen Alpha are not going to be hungry, and you guys as well. So really...
And Gen Beta.
Oh my God. Now these Gen things, they're quite a lot. But we need that education. We need to understand that we're the solution to these issues. As much as we rely on the government and private sectors to be able to do this, the question we should ask is, who are these government? Who is the government? Who is the private sector? Who are these NGOs? They are us. We belong to either of these camps. So the question is, what are they doing? I think it goes back to what are we doing to make sure that our agri-food systems are inclusive, equitable, and sustainable. So that's a call for us to take action. And we should stop just saying, this person, what are you doing in your own small corner? And I think if we all do something, these drops of water definitely is what creates the sea, and it takes us to the next level in life. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Eileen. You heard it from here. What are you doing? I think it's John F. Kennedy who said, don't ask what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. Thank you so much for tuning in. This was episode 5 of Voices of Food Future. See you in season 2, where we will have more interesting conversations. We will probably even have Dr. Eileen back again, if you would have us, to have more conversations about other topics, because she's also a gender expert. She's not just a scientist. So stay in tune for that. Thank you for sticking with us from episode 1, 2, 3, up to 5. See you in season 2. My name is Caleb Nyaga, and I have been your host.